Welcome to NuttieBuddie Sports.
Okay, let's go to the ugly. What's your ugly of week 4,
How much time
Avery?
do you have?
Well, as much time, I guess, as we need.
Well, I guess we'll just get into it. The Tua Tagovailoa situation. I think I called you earlier this week, voicing my displeasure and frustration and even anger towards the NFL. Like, it's such an egregious situation, in my opinion, that he was even able to come back after the injury in the Bills game and play that second half.
Mm.
And I know they fired whomever was responsible for failing the concussion check or whatever it was during the Bills game. But the entire thing has just been so mishandled, and I feel really terrible for him as a person. And I feel somewhat bad for you as a Dolphins fan that you your starting quarterback.
Yeah, what stinks is he's been good this year. Like, not great, but he's been good. Like, he's had moments. What was that?
He showed the promise.
Yeah.
He had good throws. He's made good decisions.
Yeah, and like it was funny because in the Bengals game, he made that beautiful pass to Gesicki for about 20 yards where he placed it beautifully over the defender. And then like 2 throws later, he throws it deep to Tyreek and underthrows him horribly and gets picked. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but we don't have to, we talked about this earlier. And it is sad that it had to get to this point for people to be outraged. That's like my biggest takeaway is like, so if he doesn't get a concussion on Thursday, nobody cares that he came back in the game on Sunday. And that's really the biggest problem was they misdiagnosed it on Sunday, whether it was the Dolphins. I know Tua said it was a back thing. And then the independent neurologists also screwed up. And then for 3 straight days, even though he didn't have a concussion, for 3 straight days, apparently he was tested for a concussion. And then the guy gets fired. So it's just like, it's sad that it has to get to this point. And I like that Andrew Whitworth on the halftime show was talking about the time he like got a concussion and he staggered off the field, but then he went back in because he passed the concussion protocol. And then his teammate had to like take him out of the game, because he wasn't playing right. So it does happen. It's just sad that like, that Tua had to experience that the Dolphin fans and any football fan actually for that matter, like you even were upset about it, like that you even had to watch it because that was horrible and it was a failure. I think on the Dolphins part, it was a failure on the NFL part because they're supposed to protect the players from themselves and the teams.
Right.
And then it's just sad it happened. So yeah, that was pretty ugly.
Player to do like, oh, I'm not feeling that great. I'm gonna sit out and lose this money and like sit out for my team. Like, no, they always want to go out there and play.
Mm-hmm.
Their safety is their number one priority. I think I was listening to the Dan Patrick show a while ago, and they were talking about when Tua's 56 years old, is he gonna look back on that and be like, why did I even suit up 5 days later after getting a head injury? Like, why on earth would I choose to do that? And that's part of the whole thing is trying to make these players understand that it is just a game. Like, you're earning a lot of money to play a game, but there is life after football. And these brain injuries, they're not something to be taken lightly.
Correct.
2 severe concussions or brain injuries in a matter of 5 days and not have long-term impact from that. And that's, I think, the most concerning thing to me with Tua was the way that he curled up and has neurological damage and issues because of that now. What does that mean for the longevity of his life? What does that mean for other players that are going to be in similar scenarios? It's enjoyable to watch, but when you see something like that, it makes you sit back and realize that they're humans too. They're super freak athletes, but they're human just like you and I.
Yeah, and I think like that's why like I feel like if they really wanted to take and just really quick, like the fact that they play Thursday night football, I told you this, like when the NFL and the NFLPA are like, well, we're concerned for player safety. Well, if you're truly concerned, you're not playing football 4 days later after you've just played football. Okay. It's about money. We all get that. It's easier to promote Tua and Burrow versus Bridgewater and Burrow. It's easier to pitch like next week, the Dolphins, I think they play the Jets, and, Bridgewater and Wilson's going to be fine, but it's, you want the Tua on your screen. You want him being part of the promotion for the Dolphins because it sells better. There's a lot of Tua loyalists out there that like just root for him, not just the Dolphins. But it's just like it's like when someone gets a head injury like that or concussion, they should just be out the next week. If you really care about players' head injury, just give them a week off. Like, is it that important? I don't know, but that would be my thought.
I think that's almost reasonable. You get injured on a Sunday, 7 days later, you probably still should be recovering from said head injury. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah. And I'm gonna just say something about the Dolphins. Two things about the Dolphins. First of all, they should have just gave Tua the game off with that head injury, just because you would have gave him 2 weeks to rest. And I think that would have been the smart thing. What's that?
You mean his back injury?
Yeah, his back injury.
Other side of the story too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem though, like, right? Okay, we can get into that too, right? The whole back and head thing, but it takes time. Now, the second thing, about as far as punishment for the Dolphins, I don't know if it's interesting to see what will happen. Yeah. I don't know what the NFL can do though, because
they're responsible themselves. They've got those guys up in the booth that are supposed to be watching for all of those head injuries and pull people out of the game. And it's in the rule book that if somebody sustains a head injury where they can't use their motor skills at 100%, that they're not allowed to come back in the game. But he was.
Correct. And that's the part. And then they just fired their guy that failed. So like, you can be like, well, the Dolphins didn't do their job, but the NFL didn't do their job too, because that's the whole point of the independent neurologist. So if I just don't know how they'll punish the Dolphins, or even if they can, considering their own guy was complicit into a playing both on Sunday and Thursday. So we'll see what happens after that.
Our best wishes go to Tua, and we hope he makes a speedy recovery.
That's right. Let's get back out there, Tua. Well, not too fast though. Not too fast. I think he's ruled out for week 5.
2026, you can come back.
26. Oh boy. Maybe.
Do you have anything else for ugly of week 4?
I just had the Tua thing just because I didn't know if anything could reach that level of ugly. But do you have something?
I don't have anything that's like on that scale, but I have 2 things.
Go ahead.
When we were watching the Packer game, it seems like Aaron Rodgers always has the most sour attitude. Who wants to play with a guy like that?
Oh, I'd take him any day.
I know, I'm sure you would be quarterback, but your teammates would hate that guy. Like, yeah, as a fan, want to root for a guy that's such a pouty pants. He's so sour all the time. Like, anytime anybody drops a pass, he's throwing his helmet, throwing a tablet, mouthing off to the coaches. Like, don't get me wrong, he's super talented. He's top 5 QB in the NFL, but I just wouldn't ever want to root for him.
Do you feel the same way about like Tom Brady when he like throws tablets and stuff? Okay, that's fair. Here's my thing, and this is where I defend Rodgers, okay? And I know that it's the unpopular thing to do, but it's kind of like if you own a business, right? And you've been managing a business for 20 years, and like every 4 years, you have to retrain your employees, or every 2 years, you have to retrain a crop of employees. And it's not because you can't keep workers. It's because, like, let's say the boss on top of you refuses to give them raises. It's like, why should I have to retrain these people every single year when we have good people that you let out the door all the time? And I think that's where I sympathize with Rodgers. Is like, why does he have to deal with young receivers every 2 to 4 years because the Packers are too cheap to either keep their guys or go out and get veterans who you might have to pay a little bit extra or even not? Like Juju went for $3 million this year. You know, like you don't, or Jarvis Landry for like 1 year, $5 million. You don't even have to pay him that much. It's like, but no, you got to, do these young guys and train them and stuff like that. I just think that's annoying. And I could see how like that would be like when he looks at Tom Brady, he's like, look at the weapons Tom Brady has, or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. And then he looks at his talent. It's like, man, I can't believe I have to do this.
You're not wrong, but like Tom Brady took a pay cut so that he could get more talented players around him. Like Aaron Rodgers is making $50 million a year and doing $29 million of cap hit this year, 49 the following year, and almost 60 the next year. Well, the cap is only 200 million. So next year he's going to be 25% of the cap. Like, how do you expect to get talented players around you? And I don't disagree. Like, they don't have good wide receivers or good position players, and they haven't for the last couple of years. But then why would he want to come back? He knows nothing is going to change. Like Tom Brady, wouldn't you want to go somewhere else where they're willing to accommodate and they're willing to spend all sorts of money to get you weapons on offense?
Yeah, I wonder if they like. I have a feeling he's going to be traded after this year. I feel like this was like a 1 year thing.
How can you trade him? He's got like the biggest cap hit out of any quarterback in the next following 2 years.
Yeah, until probably Lamar Jackson signs his new deal.
Right. But it's 50 million next year, and it's 60 million the year after that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's a quarter of your cap hit for one player, and you've got a 57 man roster or 53?
54. Yeah, or 53, 54, something like that.
You got practice squad players, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he accounts for 25% of your entire team's salary, and he's one player.
Yeah, but that's where like bargain shopping for like guys that can play wide receiver in the NFL and get open, like Jarvis Landry. He gets open, like he always gets open. Or, Juju isn't a good example right now, although he's catching on with the Chiefs offense, but there's another player. It's like 1 year, $3 million. DJ Charks was only 10 million, 1 year, 10 million. It's just like, it's not hard to bargain shop for veterans.
For like $20 million.
What was that?
We could have signed Zay Jones for $20 million.
That's great. That's great. What's your other ugly?
The last one is just from the Bills game. With like a minute left, it was like 1st and goal from the 10, and Singletary got the ball and he ran like 6 yards, and one Ravens player tackled him, and everybody was all mad at him. That was kind of ugly. Like, you would think your defense would be all together. Like, you either let them score or everybody's collectively trying to tackle him, and the one guy was not on the same page. Kind of a rough look for them.
Yeah. At that moment, like I remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where there was a team that was trying not to score, and then the opposing team like carried the offensive player into the touchdown to make him score. So that should have been the Ravens' mindset, is to let the Bills score. Yeah.
Get the ball back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Any other ugly?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay. Just one more, I guess. Javonte Williams. I don't know if you heard today, tore his ACL and LCL or something like that.
Neil Patterson on IR too.
That
sucks.
Yeah, I just don't like when injuries like that happen, because it makes football less fun. Okay, you ready for our game?
Let's do it.